My name is Carolina Costa. I was a cinematographer in Wonder Darkly. That was directed by Tara Miele. So we had, I think it was 6 weeks of pre-production, which is maybe for a smaller movie. And what I mean about smaller is in the sense of like just one timeline that is straightforward. It seems like pretty decent time to prep. But this movie was so complex because you are not just emotionally but physically walking from one space and time and then going to another one in the past, and and relating to what's happening in the present. So it wasn't just like about the emotional journey. It was like physically we had to go from one location to another seamlessly. How to create that in a way that you could experience with the characters and not feel gimmicky. So I think our first conversations were like big about like how to tell the story and be real with the characters. And for me, this was probably the most challenging project I ever done, not just because of all this physical and emotional transitions that we had, to do in actual locations, but we also have a car crash that was like really complex to design, and we studied so much in like other movies, and for Tara it was important to feel that it was part of the same shot, that you were just there with them, and then that happened. We didn't want to do like cut to here and then cut to here. Like you're just there, it crashes, and then you're out. So that was, a challenging experience to figure out how to tell, the honest story, but you have this like big setup, it's at night in LA. You have to shut down the streets, and then you have, cars actually physically crashing, and then how to do with the actors and the stunts, and like how to make all of this just merged into like a seamless and like real experience. And watching on the screen and people like screaming when it happens, I was like, okay, I think we did something right here. For camera, I knew I wanted to shoot with the Alexa Mini. I knew because of our locations, they were going to be small, and we're going to spend a lot of time specifically in one room, which is Mateo's and Adrian's bedroom. And we had been scouting, so I knew the kind of size we were talking. And Tara was very specific about the thought that the camera had to move freely. So I'm talking about doing 360s, sometimes with 2 cameras inside a tiny little room. At the beginning, you have a more static movie, and then it starts moving into very little movement. So it's like the camera is loose on the tripod, and then it starts going handheld, and then you have steady cam. So I feel like the tonal shifts were achieved with camera movement. That idea kind of defined first the format, then the lighting. It really kind of shaped how to light the movie. It was mostly sky panels and HMIs, and I had the sky panels particularly because we had like time of the day changes in the middle of the scene. So you'd start during the day, and then we'll go into night, and then another character will walk in and it'll be day again. So that was my way of being able to control all those changes. Everything else, we use mostly HMIs, and then for the nights, we actually use the sky panels 360 as well, like on Condors, a couple of nights. And, there's a couple of situations with maxi brutes. I just like to use maxi brutes for nights, and I wish we could have done more of it. But there was just something about the time and the places we were and the amount of like power I could pull. So the sky panels were our friends, I think, this project. The glass, it took us a little longer. We did a lot of testing at Panavision. I feel like we were after, it's hard to put something technical because we were watching, and then we would say something like, oh, this is Wonder Darkly, or this is not Wonder Darkly. That would be kind of how we would define, because it's here and not necessarily here at that point. When I'm like, some directors are more technical and they want to talk about the bouquets and things, but I'm not necessarily attracted to that kind of conversation. I like to do all the lens tests with a director and then talk what we're feeling here, or like with Tara say, this is Wonder Darkly. And we landed on the speed Pancrose because we felt it had the perfect balance between like something real, photographing reality, but leaving that kind of a magical element about it. And then later on, as we started developing the visual language, we knew we were gonna have super wide angles, like right up on actors' faces. I'm just so grateful for Sienna and Diego for allowing me to have a camera, like literally go like a 16mm lens, like right there in their faces, and still be able to do the performances they did in this movie. Nick Heston and Light Iron did the color correction. We developed the LUTs with him, and I only had 2 LUTs. One that was just like a, let's say, everyday, and then the one that it was like for more extreme scenes. So when we got to color correction, I think what we did in color was develop something that we had already started, you know, in pre-production. The film came out, yes, definitely how we wanted. It's a hard movie because of the tone, because you go from horror to comedy to romantic comedy, then to just like crazy drama, and then psychological drama, and then you're back on horror. And so it was very important for me to have some kind of like, just like a global look, like you never felt cheated because of the visual language. It was an incredible experience to watch it with the audience. First of all, because I could participate as an audience member, just watching it and not be worrying about my own work. Because of the distance, the time, I could relate to it and just enjoy it with the characters and actually have an emotion reaction. I left feeling almost hollow and just had this out-of-body experience. And every single person that I met outside had, you know, makeup over their face. That like everybody was bawling, and there was an actual collective experience that we've been hearing from many different people, strangers that had to hug because they were crying so much. So they had to hug one another. Sitting next to a stranger, you have to hug at the end of a movie. I don't know if that was Tara's intention, but like how incredible it is to do a movie that people, strangers were hugging, touching hands, and just having that kind of visceral reaction to your movie. It's I don't think I'll ever forget this experience.